Hi all, and welcome to the May Coffee and Chat Q&A. I had quite a few more questions coming in, so I thought today was the perfect opportunity to answer a few of those. Make sure to grab yourself a drink, a snack, whatever you need to get comfortable, and let's have a little chat. As per usual, this is just my opinion, my expert insights, but don't take this as generalized advice. Make sure to tune in to your own needs, your own circumstances, and obviously feel free to share your own experiences and your own tips in the comments so that others can benefit. Without further ado, there's 3 questions we're covering today. The first one is around scales and the benefits and harms of weighing yourself regularly. The second question is about tuning into your cravings and whether this helps overcome the cravings or intensifies them. And the third question, linked to the second question, is about whether or not to continue listening to those cravings as you approach weight restoration. Let's get to it. Question number 1, stepping away from the scales. Question number 1, as I said, was about stepping away from the scales. Why it's necessary, but also how and when to approach it and potential pitfalls. Bringing this back to my own experiences, weighing myself is something that I did engage in my own recovery, and it's something that my therapist at the time recommended I did. So I went from not really weighing myself at all at the time of my eating disorder to weighing myself every single day, and then multiple times a day. So while I was allowing myself to take certain steps in my recovery, I was allowing myself to do that by taking control elsewhere. And weighing myself became that thing for me personally. Yes, weighing yourself can be a helpful safety net. It can ensure you're eating enough and not inadvertently losing weight. However, as we do go into in the body image modules, and as we talked about in our previous group live session, tier 2 and tier 3, it's a double-edged sword. It can be another way of the eating disorder to feel in control. Another way for the eating disorder to feel like it still has the reins. If you're in a place where you want to step away from that, or maybe you're further along in your recovery, this may be something that needs addressing. I know that for me, weighing myself gave me that sense of control, and it was also a way to make sure that I was gaining weight, but not too much and not too little. Just the right amount of weight, following that perfect quote-unquote trajectory, which, to put that out there from the start, doesn't really exist in eating disorder recovery. There is no perfect linear trajectory. While it did ensure at certain stages in my recovery that I didn't lose weight, it wasn't necessarily a guarantee of that either. And it made me feel miserable every single day as I stepped on the scales, which in fact probably negatively influenced my efforts. It also limited my ability to actually tune back into my body and my hunger because I was still relying on that external feedback quite heavily. That said, if I hadn't weighed myself, especially in the initial stages, I feel like for me that could have been the perfect excuse to go running straight back to the eating disorder full force, allow myself to lose that weight, and have that period of time where no one may have noticed. Again, that would definitely have been cheating myself, but I know that for me, that's what I would have done. Just being honest here. Later on in my journey though, when I had more of that responsibility, that accountability, when I actually wanted to get better, that's when things shifted. And that's when I realized that that external source of reassurance wasn't really adding anything for me. It wasn't helping. It was keeping me stuck more than anything. So if weighing yourself is keeping you stuck, but the thought of not weighing yourself freaks you out too, let me just say that it doesn't need to be all or nothing. It doesn't need to be black or white. There can be a middle ground where, for example, you go from weighing yourself every single day or every single week to weighing yourself once a month. reducing the impact it has on your day-to-day life, while still ensuring you're on the right track, while still giving you that bit of relief and reassurance. From there, you can see how you want to progress that, how that feels for you, and where you want to be. And that's a unique and individual choice. But weighing ourselves, while it can be good exposure, is also, in my opinion, not necessarily something that we need to do all that regularly. Everyday people who've never had an eating disorder might see their weight once or twice in a year when they go to their GP. And even then, it's a number that possibly doesn't even stick with them. When I weigh myself, chances are I'll have forgotten what the number is 5 minutes later, if not 5 seconds later. And that says a lot about how far I've come in that journey. So yeah, in the same way that we don't, or many of us don't, go from a full-on meal plan to complete unstructured chaos. We might, go from a meal plan to structured meals, but being freer in those choices. We don't have to go from weighing ourselves twice a day, 3 times a day, to never again at all. Talking to ourselves in those extremes is hardly ever helpful. So ask yourself, how can you reduce your weigh-ins? What impact would that have on you? And where would you like to get to? Work with your unique circumstances in mind and tailor that plan to you. And of course, as you do this, make sure that you at least maintain your weight or gain weight where needed, that you continue to eat sufficiently, because even without weighing yourself, without calorie counting, without the behaviors that the eating disorder tells you you need, on some level, I'm sure you do know when you're starting to cut corners, when you're starting to give in to the eating disorder. Remain intentional and aware and take action when needed. Rely on your support network. Create a relapse prevention plan, as we go into in a lot of depth in the upcoming modules. And identify those red flags for yourself so that you can take the right steps to get back on track when you need to. It's by giving up the scales or giving up calorie counting, those control behaviors of the eating disorder, that we start to tune back into our genuine cues a whole lot more. And if these are quite challenging to identify, if you haven't fully tuned back into them, well, all the more reason to start experimenting with that. Obviously, given that you're in a place where it's safe and that you do so in a safe way. For example, one client I'm working with has recently weight restored and it sort of freaked her out to step away from the calorie counting. When I asked her what she had to lose, we talked about those fears, really dug very, very deep. But the truth of the matter is, she could go a week without calorie counting. If it was an absolute disaster, it's just a week. What can we learn from that? What went well? What didn't go so well? What do we need to change for future? So, recovery is a lot of trial and error. Allow yourself that trial and error. And whenever in doubt, take it back to that question of what is the eating disorder choice? And what's the recovery aligned choice? Erring on the side of recovery, of weight gain, that can be really powerful. It helps us detach from the idea that we do always have to go for the safe way out. It detaches us from the idea that weight gain is bad. If we're intentionally pursuing something, it can't be bad. At least that's the message that's being sent by the cognitive dissonance in your brain as you do this. So, do it. Give it a go. Report back. Let me know how you get on. And if you have any other thoughts on this, any fears, any insights, any experiences, leave them in the comments. Question number 2. I'm experiencing really strong cravings and extreme hunger, which is quite distressing. It's really scary when a lot of the cravings are for things that I fear. And if I do allow myself these foods, I find that I want them most days. I'm just terrified that I will crave and eat these foods forever, and I feel like I'm eating too much. I'm scared I'm going to freak myself out. Firstly, with this question, I want to say, well done. Congrats. It's amazing that you have this insight. that these cravings are signals from your body and that you've subsequently been listening to them, even if maybe not all of the time. That's powerful. That takes courage, and that's how fears are over time overcome. It's completely normal in recovery to experience extreme cravings, to be very hungry, as your body heals from starvation, as your body rebels against food rules and fear foods and starts to find a way to test the waters and figure out if things are safe again. It's especially normal to really crave those foods that maybe you do consider or label as bad. Is that inner child rebelling against those rules and regulations that are still set? Plus, a lot of the time, those are also the foods that, give us the energy and mentally and physically signal that things are safe, that energy is coming in, that starvation is no longer imminent. And yeah, a plate full of broccoli likely isn't going to do the same. It can absolutely be terrifying when those cravings don't subside right away, but remember that this just takes time. Recovery takes a lot of time. Also, it's definitely not a sign that things are wrong or a reason to start to question things. And in fact, I would say it's a really good sign. It's a sign that your body is getting to a place where it's sending you those signals again. After you suppress its signals for a long amount of time, it often starts to completely suppress them. Well, they're re-emerging, and they're re-emerging strong. They're still finding their own equilibrium, but they're there. And that's a sign that your body is ready to communicate with you. If the goal is to communicate with your body to tune back into its cues, well, the cues are there, and it's time to start listening to them. Cravings like chocolate and ice cream and bread or whatever it may be don't indicate that you'll be eating those foods every single day for the rest of your life, that you'll be craving them forever. They're just a sign of previously unmet needs. And if you give in to a craving and give in to it again and again and again, chances are that craving will subside. If you want a chocolate bar and you want it again tomorrow and you want it again the next day and you don't ever give yourself that chocolate bar, well, you'll keep wanting it. It'll keep becoming a bigger, more important thing in your brain. But if you decide to give yourself that chocolate bar, or maybe 2 chocolate bars, and you have it again the following day and the following day for a week or a month, chances are you'll be getting pretty sick of it after that. Chances are that craving will pass and maybe it's replaced by something else, and that'll go through that same cycle. As healing progresses, those once forbidden foods start to lose their power. This is because you're not putting as much focus on them, and it's because you're listening to them, and those things work synergistically. But it does take time. That said, it's valid to be afraid. It's valid to fear eating too much. It's valid for this to be uncomfortable or uncertain. A lot of things in recovery are. But you're definitely not alone in this. Gently leaning into this with the right kind of support, that's how you can push through. And as you said, if you are afraid of completely freaking yourself out, it is also possible to take a more graded exposure approach to this, which I think is what module 2 or 3 really goes into depth on. In this way, you are exposing yourself to your fears. You are challenging the eating disorder, but you're doing it in a way where you build your own agency and confidence as you do so, allowing yourself to keep moving forwards rather than taking 2 steps forward and 5 back. Anyway, on the topic of support, if anyone has any other input on this or any of their own experiences with this, leave them below. And let's get to that final question. Question 3. I used to listen to my cravings, but I've been told I'm near weight restoration now. These cravings are still strong, so how do I deal with them? Should I still listen to them? Because I feel like I'm running out of time to practice unrestricted eating. First things first, you're not running out of time. You can never run out of time to practice tuning back into those cues, to practice unrestricted eating, and to get away from the eating disorder fully, completely, and in a way that is lasting. I completely understand that the news that you're nearing weight restoration can create a bit of freak out. It's a scary prospect for many reasons, but I think that's an entire video in and of itself. Anyway, while weight restoration can feel like a reason to step on those brakes again, the actual goal in recovery isn't a specific weight. The actual goal in recovery is food freedom and tuning into your body's cues. So why stop at a specific weight when the goal is a feeling? That's like driving all the way across the country, parking in front of your destination, but never actually getting out of the car and doing what you came there to do. You're at the destination, or you're very close, but you're not actually reaping that benefit or getting what you came there for. There's not really any point in allowing yourself all of these freedoms as you work up towards a specific weight, and then no longer allowing yourself those same freedoms once you approach or reach that weight. So try to reconnect with your actual recovery goals and remind yourself of the steps you need to take to get to those goals. So for example, wanting to eat more intuitively again, which requires tuning back into your hunger cues, regardless of what your weight is. By taking this approach, you can practice the unrestricted eating in the lead up to your set point weight, but also once you reach that set point weight. And in fact, once you do reach your set point, your body will be happy. It'll protect this weight, sending out hunger and craving signals as and when needed to keep you there. And if you find that at your quote-unquote healthy weight you are still gaining weight, chances are that healthy weight isn't quite your set point weight. So bear with, see where it takes you. And yes, that's definitely scary, but wouldn't you want to be at your happy place weight, eating everything you want to eat, having that freedom, versus being a couple of kilos removed and having to control every bite and still struggling with those cravings? If the goal is freedom, don't stop till you get that freedom. You deserve that freedom. Anyway, that is it for today. It's been really nice for you to join me. Make sure to share your insights in the comments as well. And if you have any of your own questions, feel free to send them through to me. Feel free to post them in the group chat or in the forum, obviously trigger free in a way that is constructive, but that's what we're all here for. I'm proud of you all. These questions in and of themselves show a lot of insight. The wins you've all been sharing have been incredible. So keep up that work, keep going, keep consolidating, and that, at the end of the day, is how you're going to get out the other side. So cheers to that.